Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar, Showcasing the Value of Technology Transfer, presented by the Federal Laboratory Consortium for Technology Transfer. My name is Amy Thompson, the FLC's Director of Professional Development, and I will be your staff host today. All lines have been muted to ensure high quality audio, and today's session is being recorded. If you have questions for Marianne, we encourage you to use the Q&A feature. If you have a technical question or comment, please feel free to use the chat. Next slide, please. The FLC 2022 Virtual National Meeting is June 21st through the 23rd. The QR code up here can be used to scan if you would like to be directly connected to that to register for our national meeting. Next slide, please. Today, we're showcasing the value of technology transfer with Marianne Lynch. I now have the pleasure of introducing you to her today. Marianne Lynch has been working for 20 years in technology transfer fields. I would like to introduce you today to Marianne Lynch, and take it away, Marianne.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Again, my name is Marianne Lynch, and I'm here to talk about the Federal Laboratory Consortium and what they can do for you, what they have done for you, and also intellectual property and the other things related to it. So to begin with, I'd say this webinar is brought to you by the Federal Laboratory Consortium, the FLC, and we will go through and over what FLC and why you should care. So this webinar is about the Federal Laboratory Consortium is a national network of more than 300 federal labs moving innovative technologies developed by federal labs into the marketplace. The FLC represents a collective strength of more than 150 billion invested annually by R&D by the federal government. And so if you look at the $150 billion, that averages out to about 500,000 per laboratory. So, you know, as you probably know, some labs are much better funded than others, depending on the size and whatnot. So the federal, darn, I'm moving this around a little too much. Okay, so the federal technology benefits industry, federal technology transfer benefits industry partners due to availability of unique facilities and equipment, experienced federal scientists and engineers, and federal technology transfer success is measured by your success. Goal is for the private industry partners to take federal innovations to the marketplace to manufacture and sell. So the labs with the facilities and equipment, a user facility is a federally sponsored research facility available for external use to advance scientific or technology knowledge, typically under the following conditions. So we have conditions for people to access these facilities. The facility is open to all interested potential users without regard to national or institutional affiliation. The allocation of facility resources is determined by merit review of the proposed work. So both parties have an input into, you know, is it worth their while to do use the facility for their technology, and then the agency decides whether it's worth their while. The partner decides that also, and then the user fees are not charged for non-proprietary work if the user intends to publish the research results, open literature. If it's fully cost recovery is required for proprietary work. So if the party is using the facility and they don't want to share all of their information, they have to pay for it. So it's a service that both parties benefit, but they benefit in different ways depending on what the party wants to deal with. And sometimes they want to keep their research to themselves until they're ready, and so that's how these facilities work. The facility provides resources sufficient for users to conduct work safely and efficiently. The facility supports a former user organization to present the users and facility sharing information, forming collaborations and organization research efforts among users. The facility capability does not compete with the available private sector capabilities. So if there are other places outside of the government that parties can use for the same technology, then the government has no business doing it. So it's really specific for things that you can't find other places. So so how federal innovation is transferred. So we have licensing, CRADAs, other partnership agreements, facility use, and tech transfer assistance. So the licenses, I'll go over each one a little bit. So licenses can be either non-exclusive or exclusive. There can be several exclusive licenses for one invention by breaking it up into areas and how the invention will be used. So you'd think about, licensing just one technology in an exclusive, but again, you can have a few different ones depending on, you could have some that are specific for the west part of the United States, the east part of the United States, South United States, and those can all be different licenses, but it could be the same technology, or you could use the invention and provide different uses for it, just the way it would be used after it was fully designed. And so for exclusive licenses, the opportunity license has to be published in most cases, which now can be done on the FLC website. So if you want to exclusively license, you can have it published at the FLC website, and there's a certain period of time where the other parties have the chance to see what is available, and there's a time period at least 15 days published, so in case anybody else is interested in applying for the exclusive license. And so the licensing of federally owned inventions are authorized by Title 35 USC 209. And so if you want to get some more information about that, that's where you look. There are other places also. And then the next thing is CRADAs, but it's also connected to the inventions. The required publishing exception that I was just talking about, how you have to publish if there's a CRADA that's related to the technology with the lab, then the parties don't have to, the lab doesn't have to publish the license, the potential license, if there is a CRADA associated with it and that party is interested in licensing it. So the CRADAs are one of the main ways that technology and technical expertise can be transferred for federal laboratories to non-federal partners. So CRADAs are very important. They're used regularly, and they're just something that the labs in general use a lot, and they're very helpful. So CRADA is any formal written agreement between one or more federal laboratories and one or more non-federal parties under which now here the government through its laboratories provide personnel, services, facilities, equipment, intellectual property, or other resources. Now, some of this can go back and forth as far as what can be shared. The federal government cannot pay the other party to do the CRADA, but the other party can pay the government for some of the access to the government's laboratory. So the things that can be used for CRADAs, the access is unique. The access to unique capabilities beyond what CRADA partners can afford to build. So the labs very often have technology and just equipment and whatnot that's available that other parties or, you know, the lab or the partner itself doesn't have access to. So in a way, it's similar a bit to the facility use, but it's different. And because they don't typically go into the lab, although they can have some of their people working in the lab. So the government, through its laboratories, provide personnel, services, facilities, and then building valuable relationships between the public and private organizations, because the CRADAs can go for years. It's not uncommon for a 2 or 3 year CRADA. And so again, you're building up a relationship between the parties. And so it isn't just that particular CRADA, it can also go on to future ones, and you know, people get to know each other and what their facilities and their capabilities are. So it's very handy that way. And then the federal lab or collaborator can apply for a patent for tech developed through the CRADA. And again, that goes on to, you know, what has to be published. And the agreements speed up research and development and allow agencies more quickly to achieve stated goals, and up to 5 years of confidentiality as part of the agreement property or other resources. And the regulation 15 USC 3710A is where you can read up about CRADAs, what you can do, what you shouldn't be doing, and you know, the value of it. So so this, I don't know, we're way ahead on these pages. I'm sorry, it's not totally, yeah, there we go, there's something. So if you look at this here, it gives you an idea of the breadth of what the federal government can do with all of this research. I mean, you look at measurement is the largest at 11%, but it goes down percent-wise, and then 32% of this doesn't even fit along those different categories of all the different things that the government works on. So that gives you an idea what the government's working on, but again, there's 32% that isn't even in this list because You know, there are just so many different kind of technologies that are being working on with the government. Now, I think we skipped some things, so I'd like to go back if we can. Can we go back or go forward? Okay, so these are the different, let me see. So this is, you can look at the logos and trademarks for some of the departments and agencies. There are a lot of eagles in there, but there are different agencies, different departments. So, I mean, I don't think there's really much we can talk about except they're kind of nice looking and there are a lot of eagles. I think we have missed a couple things here. Did we miss federal transfer? Okay. Yeah, okay. So I wanted to talk about the other, the other partner agreements. Sorry about that. So the partner agreements are also included in the material transfer agreement, and that's not specifically mentioned here, but material transfer agreements are between the labs and, you know, other parties. And what also goes in hand with the CRADAs and the material transfer agreements are the NDAs, the agreements that keep things confidential. And typically they use those for CRADAs and they use those for material transfer agreements because there's a certain amount of information that they want to keep confidential, and you know, it's just part of the agreement is usually some kind of, you know, insurance that the information will be protected. And then the facility use, we talked about that earlier, and then the technical assistance tends to be less formal, whereas, you know, the parties get together and they figure out, you know, what does the partner you know, need with this, where they can get the information, who can they work with at the laboratory to help them get through this process. And so they, like I said, it might not be at all formal, but they can, you know, get a lot of information from the laboratory, and then the laboratory also gets a lot of information from them. So it works out for both parties. We can go to the next page, please. Okay, so we got this. I was looking at the intellectual property, the page right before this, that the CRADAs, yes, thank you. If you look at these numbers, the CRADAs are 1/3 of the partner agreements, but usually more complex than other agreements, such as the material transfer agreements, the MTAs. You know, you can see that the licenses are pretty significant. They're, you know, 1,200, 10,000 active. The disclosure is 5,000, and it looks like so issued patents are about half of that, which is pretty good statistic. And then let me see. Oh, no, it's not half of that. It's the licenses are about half of that, and the income is 200 million. But if you look at what the 200 million compared to 150 billion invested annually by the R&D by the federal government. So although the income is nice, it's just a small fraction to what the government spends on research and development. But the focus really isn't what the income is. That's just kind of icing on the cake, because there's a whole lot of inventions and information and all that other stuff that's being developed. And so it's nice to have the income, but the income is really a blip compared to everything else. And again, we got the CRADAs here, and then others, they're like 4 times the amount, but the CRADAs are in general much more complicated than the other agreements when it comes to partnership. So anyway, that's enough of that. If we want to go to the next page. Yeah, so we looked at these, and then the tech transfer successes. I have a little trouble reading that, but let me see. So transfer success. So the radiation-resistant bacteria inspire US UBMI. So there were a few parties in this. And so we've got the federal labs, the Department of Defense, the Uniform Service University of the Health Science, and also the partner Biological Mimetics Income, BMI. So the collaboration here among the parties resulted in a joint intellectual property IP for the new polio vaccine, with patent application with both USA and BMI inventors under prosecution management by BMI. So this one won an award just last year for excellence in technology transfer. And it's been helping a lot of people with this vaccine. And, vaccine is a big word lately. So it's nice to know that we're still working on that. So we can go to the next one. So the next one is NIST, National Institute of Standard and Technology, and TEDCO. TEDCO is an organization in around here and in Maryland. And so they work together with the agencies a fair amount. And they don't usually have their own technology, but they do work with other parties. So the NIST Science and Technology Transfer Entrepreneur Program is a joint effort by the NIST Tech Transfer Partnership and TEDCO to facilitate new company formations by departing NIST employees and commercializing of NIST technologies, which in turn create jobs. So these parties are working together to, get more inventions out there, and actually to have the different parties work and different agencies together. So that's pretty nice technology program. And so to the next one, the NIAID is so the Federal Lab, National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, NIAID. And so that's tech transfer negotiated clinical trial agreement, CTA, with Gilead to facilitate a clinical trial of remdesivir for treatment of COVID-19, a trial that led to an emergency use authority of the therapy less than 3 months later. So this was big, you know, as we all know, that the COVID-19 affected just about everybody in the world, and certainly people in this country. So to get that done as quickly as it did was pretty impressive. So it won the FLC 2021 National Award winner, Impact Award with COVID-19 response distinction. And I mean, that's kind of another NIH thing. And they did a lot of good work quickly, and it helped a lot of people. So that was a really great convention, and we should all be grateful for it. So the next one is tech transfer success for memory foam. And that's something I had never heard of. But I guess NASA is big on this kind of stuff. So NASA worked with Dynamic Systems, and the temper foam was developed to protect airline seating from vibration, sand, improve energy absorption for increased survivability in the event of crash. An open cell polymeric memory foam material is developed with unusual viscoelastic properties for high energy absorption and comfort. So the temper foam technology is used to produce a multitude of products branded as Sun-Mate cushions, including the popular memory foam mattresses. So I guess next time you buy a mattress, it may actually have the popular memory foam in it. And I see those advertised, but I don't know much about it. But anyway, so it's not saving people's lives, but it's making people more comfortable and potentially safer, you know, if it's put in a car or something like that. So it is a technology. It doesn't, I don't see it mentioned that DOE has, or FLC has given an award, but it's still kind of interesting. And so if you get around to it, maybe look around for some products that have memory foam in them. So next, so we have the holographic millimeter wave scanner scanning for passengers. So this is PNNL, which is a Department of Energy lab, the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. And then they worked with L3 security detection systems. So the PNL developed holographic millimeter wave technology that is used to screen millions of passengers at airport security checkpoints nationwide. Well, I just love getting screened at the airport. But this invention, the technology has licensed to L3 security detection system to be the basis for a line of screening systems which are now deployed worldwide. It was developed with funds from the Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, and Department of State. And So that's several parties involved in getting that, and hopefully it makes the airports more security, and hopefully it makes the checkpoints go quicker. Doesn't really give a lot of information about what the technology is itself, but I guess we should be glad we have it. So the next one is products on the market that originated in federal labs. For more, and here we go, there's the web page that you can see, and there's different things listed there. And so here we go, we've got the FLC's mission. And so FLC's mission is similar to, like, in general, the government's mission to to move the technology that we've invested in and tried to develop to get more use out of it, get more value from it, and get it done quicker, etc. So we've got the different things here for FLC's mission, and this came about like a couple of years ago, and they're still working on it, of getting this moving. So the first one is promote awareness and foster dialogue about federal R&D and significant economic benefits of tech transfer among government, industry, academia, and other external partners. So that is getting out there, trying to get everybody to be working together and have people more aware of the FLC and what it's trying to do and help them move forward. And then there's educate, which federal tech transfer provisions on commercialization, best practice, strategics through training, opportunities, and resources. So this is, it's a real benefit that the FLC is doing that, because they come up with different ways to educate people, to help them understand what tech transfer is, what inventions are, how to get them moving. And so it's a real benefit to anybody, in the federal sphere and laboratories to look at what the educate system is providing. And not this particular training class, but there are some others that are really helpful. And instead of trying to find it all in books and whatnot, a lot of it is there at the FLC on the website. And then facilitate federal laboratories tech transfer goals via FLC created tools and services that enable an accessible path for getting technologies from lab to market. So this is another thing that you could go to the FLC websites and you get a lot of information there. They have tools, they have a lot of information, and they just have different programs that are really useful for the facilitate thing. So, and then how do we carry out our mission? So as above, we promote, educate, and facilitate tech transfer through our activities and resources. Excuse me. We have awards. The FLC has quite a number of those. Once a year, they have a big annual award, and for various different things. And people are very proud when they get them, or even when they're, thought to have gotten one of them. Then there's a lab tech in your life, which is also very interesting. You can go on their site and see all this different information in there, and you know, you can look at it and it's kind of fun. And then Labs in Action, the FLC Learning Center, and FLC Business. So all of those are on the FLC websites, and you can go in there, click and poke around, and you can spend hours in there and learn a lot and kind of be, you know, even have some fun there, because there's a lot of information, but it's put together in a nice way. And so next, the promote, and then it goes on the, so promote communication and recognition. So the FLC Awards, publication and gallery. And again, all of this is on the website, the Lab Tech in Your Life. We're going over the same things. Annual report to the President and Congress. So you'll find that there. The Labs in Action, the social media press releases. I get those at least like almost every day, at least once a week. And I read them all because there's a lot of information there about what's going on with different laboratories, and it's also a way that people can publish different things that other people may be interested in. So, and again, you know, it's just really good to be, you know, if you're not on that list of people who just get them, you know, in your emails, it's worthwhile to put your name in, because there's a lot of information there, and you don't have to read the whole thing, you know, from beginning to start. But it's helpful, and it's kind of fun, just kind of a different thing to be reading when you spend your whole day reading. So, and then what do we have next? The Educate Technology Training. So that's part of what we talked about. So we have national meetings, regional meetings, webinars, courses, reference materials, and so that covers a lot of what we already talked about. So that's the Educate. So those are a lot of things. Again, you go onto the website and you can look at different webinars, and I guess the ones that were already done, and you can see them, and then the reference materials. And then this here, this is the laboratory the potential partner can use as a path. So you start here, and this is really helpful if you look at it. You know, it's a way to get to the, you know, where you want in a partnership. So the first thing you look at is, what do you want? What do you need? You know, number one is identify your needs. And sometimes it takes a while, because it's not always clear, you know, what do you actually want? What do you want at the end? Except, you know, a license that's, you know, very valuable. But in the meantime, you've got to do all this other stuff. And then so search the laboratory resources and for technology. So that's the next stage. And it's nice that they have this little up and down thing, and, you know, the people questioning, and, you know, little dots by their heads. And then, you know, the contact the laboratory reps. So who do we need to talk to? You can see the little people there, you know, kind of trying to figure out each other. And then you assess the next steps for commercialization. Like, okay, we got this in one hand, that in another hand. Where do we want to go? And that's another thing to think about. And then find a suitable tech transfer process. Okay, so it's not software. Is it something that we can patent? Is it something we should just publish? You know, what do you want to do with it? And then who do you want to do it with? And then negotiate an agreement path, and that's where you got the hands together. And then the commercialization. So it, you know, you got it up and down, up and down. And, you know, those different things, it could take you, you know, a couple weeks, few months to get, you know, each one of these steps, or it can go, you know, much quicker. It's just kind of, you know, how lucky you are. Do you have the right people in place? And, you know, what are you working with? So that's that. And then the FLC partnerships. So here are a few to be mentioned. The FLC is open to developing partnerships on national and regional levels to enhance public-private connections. The examples of national partnerships. We got the Small Business Administration and Minority Business Development Agency, Association for Unmanned Vehicle System International. That's one I'm not even familiar with. The Water Council, and then examples of regional partnerships: New Jersey, Commission on Science, Innovation and Technology, Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation, and Maryland Technology Development Corporation, and CoLabs. So these are just some, you know, these are just examples of the different things. And some of those are local because we've got Montgomery County Economic, and that's in Maryland. And then, you know, Maryland Technology Development Corporation. So, and Maryland has a little bit of a benefit just because it's so close to Washington, D.C. So they have more access to a lot of things than some other parties. And so then, so here we got, I'm looking at the FLC regions. Have we moved it? Yeah. So you can see the way the United States is broken up, as there are several regions here. Looks like there are 6 of them. And you can see the very largest is in the middle of the country, or mostly the middle of the country. And it's the largest largely because there aren't so many people packed up there. So like there are just as many people on the very west coast as there are in the middle of the country. And so the smallest looks to be the Northeast because it's just the way it is. But they very often, the Northeast works with the Mid-Atlantic because they're so close to each other, and you know, you can drive from one end to the other much quicker than you could possibly do in the far west. So some of these, they work together for their meetings, and you know, so that's the way they're broken up into. So they have their own awards every year, and then there's also the whole of the U.S. awards too. So it's 2 different groups, but sometimes people get awards right before in the different regions, and then they also get an award from the federal annual meeting. So that works pretty nice if you're lucky enough to get on both of them. And then this is, I guess, the end, that unless I don't think I need to cover any of this stuff again.
Marianne, we did have some questions from the chat. Would you like to take some of those?
Yes, I would be very happy to do that.
Okay. We did have one. The one here says, what are other partnership agreements? So when you were talking about different partnerships, what else can you tell us about those?
The partnerships, well, I guess the one that we're very, you know, used to are the CRADAs. We can do other partnerships that are less formal. And again, there's the MTA, which is the Material Transfer Agreement, and that's more like, when I worked at NIH, they would do that for mice or things like that, relatively small things that one party would allow the other party, and sometimes it would come into NIH, sometimes it would go out of NIH, and typically there was an NDA along with that. Just to keep it protected, the information, and there would be some agreement with it to make sure that it was used for what we agreed to use, because sometimes when you didn't have an agreement, people would run off with this, and the original parties didn't even know what was going on, or didn't get benefit of having provided to other people. So that is one of the main ones that is done outside of the CRADA. And there are agreements when you use the facilities. So that's one of the things that we discussed or talked about. And that can be a real complicated thing, because again, the MTA, you can get one of those within a few days sometimes, whereas a CRADA can take, months sometimes to negotiate one. And they're longer agreements. For an MTA, a lot of times they say, okay, you can use this material for 1 year. And after that, you either ask it or ask to extend it, or you get, it's over. So there are some that are, like I said, very long, and some that are very short. But the primary ones that I'm used to are the ones that we brought up, of the MTAs, the utilities, and the CRADAs. Is there another one they were thinking about, or hoping there was another one?
Maybe they will follow up in the chat for some additional information. But there is another one about partnerships.
Okay.
How does the partnerships with Autumn enhance FLC's ability to serve federal labs?
Well, I haven't looked that much lately about Autumn's agreements lately, but I know in the past that some of the things that Autumn did were really helpful to the labs. One is making, different agreements standard. And so people, the federal government laboratories very often do different things among the different agencies, and that can be really frustrating to other parties, because each time they work with a different party, sometimes even within the same agency, you're like, oh no, we don't do it that way. Oh no, we don't do it that way. So the Autumn sometimes provides the standard that everybody can, to some extent agree to, and it makes everybody else's life easier if you don't have to know 100 or 200 different ways to do something. If you can, in general, use the one standard. Even if you make little changes to it, if it's basically the same thing, it makes everybody else's life easier, because they don't have to wonder, like, can I sign this, because there's weird things in there. Did that help?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I did have another question here about the benefits for the agencies. So with showcasing the value of technology transfer, what are the benefits for us?
Yeah. And I thought that was in there, but I think we zipped through it or something. So the benefits of having the tech transfer is that and there were some things in there that basically it gives the agency, for one thing, an example that they've done something successful. You know, they're working on this. They're spending a lot of money, as you can see. You know, the funds that go into this. So it's good to have actually a product. You know, like, what are they doing? You know, if they don't have the tech transfer, and there are a lot of ways that the tech transfer can actually happen. It can be publication, it can be an invention, it can be software, you know, these different things. But yeah, the laboratory, if it has a lot of tech transfer, people get to know it. They get, the laboratory has gotten something for their effort and for, you know, the government's money. So it's really important, and it's also good feeling for the people who work there, you know. And I've dealt with the inventors, and they're so proud of their inventions, and for good reason, because they spent a lot of time. It isn't like they walked into the lab and like a week later they had something. They worked on this stuff for years. And so, you know, it's good to have something you can say, you know what, I actually worked on something and I got something. And that's another reason why people like to have their stuff patented and licensed, because it's, in a way, it's their baby. I know that sounds kind of snarky, but in some ways it is. It's something that they're proud of, and they're glad they did it, and they know that it's helping outside of the government. You know, if you can get these technologies that help parties, you know, do things quicker, do things better, you know, that they're making the world a little bit better. It makes them feel good and, you know, proud, and that's good.
Absolutely. I do know with the partnerships, going back to the partnerships again, is with the regionals, we have the regional member connects, you know, we have different regional meetings that would really help people network and get a hold of each other in a different way. So did you attend any of the regional membership, or national, or regional or national, I guess?
Well, I've been to most of the whole big one. I've been to the, you know, not the last 2 years. I did call in for them, you know, but
Right.
I've been to most of them in the last 15 years. The national ones. I've been to the local ones several times, because, you know, usually where they have it is within like 20 miles of my house. So I've gone to the local one in Maryland, but I haven't traveled to any of the others. But I always enjoyed going to the FLC meetings. It's, if nothing else, I mean, it's good to see who won the awards and everything, but there are other things that it gives you an opportunity to see people and other agencies that you're familiar with, maybe you're even friends with, and you don't see them except at a meeting like that.
Yeah, and you know, it's with looking at all of this here as we wrap up with the showcasing the value of technology transfer, all of this information is on our federal labs website. So
Yes.
we have the technology toolkit, we have the brochures that we didn't get really a chance to dive deep into those, but those are on the website as well. And you click on the resources and there's the executive education package, and
Mhm.
that's available to use with administration, with your advisors, you know, to kind of get the word out that there is a definite need for technology transfer. And
Yeah,
it
there
looks like we do
really,
have, I'm sorry, Marianne, wait, one more question. How would you
no.
suggest we could use the FLC as an independent testing facility for an SBIR grant?
No, what is that? Could you also?
How would you suggest we could use the FLC as an independent testing facility for an SBIR grant?
I think there's something to that. I mean, I don't know who would be involved in that. I think, you know, the FLC would of course have to you know, agree to that, but it might be plausible. I mean, I really haven't thought about that before. Who is suggesting that? I mean, like, were they working with SBIR already and they wanted to get this moving with the FLC? Or, I mean, there's not really enough information there to know.
Well, and we do have your contact information. So, and that's available when you registered. So you have her email address. So that might be a follow-up question to ask with Marianne. I guess that would be, yeah. Yeah, and then also FLC Business, as we're ramping that up on our website as well, that would be a good place to check that out as well. Well,
Yeah.
Marianne, thank you so
And
much.
I'm sorry. Oh, well, thank you. And I just wanted to, you know, kind of apologize. I tripped over myself a couple times during this, and I was like kind of going faster and then slower on some of the things. So I apologize. I hope people got something out of this. And well, and I hope everybody has a good day.
Right.
And I'm more than happy to answer questions outside of this. So if anybody, you know, has any comments or questions or whatever, they're welcome to get a hold of me.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you, everybody out there, our attendees. We appreciate it. Have a good day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.